When the glass breaks, that is Austin Price's music on RKW, brewed by Scooters Coffee. Make sure you download the Scooters Coffee mobile app to get $2 off your first mobile order. Crew's all here. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined in Knoxville, Tennessee by the man himself, VolQuest's Austin Price, this morning. Austin, what's going on? How are you?
Well, I've just painted Ramon's guest room here at my house. I mean, since he's going to be living up here for part of the fall, I've decided to decorate it, and I put Steelers on one side of the room and Tennessee on the other, and, you know, I mean, get a little Sharpie for him to sign the wall when he gets up here.
Perfect.
That is absolutely amazing right there.
Make sure you got a little bit of Ripley Tigers in there too, Austin. He'll be good to go.
I'll take a tiger bear.
I put you in just a twin size bed.
You know what? Just like Gibbs back in the day, is it the extra long twin size or just a regular?
No, just a regular. We're gonna have you hanging off. We're gonna have you hang. Your feet's gonna be hanging off the.
Be hanging off the bed. Listen,
You'll be watching so much film.
We'll be all right. Yeah, we'll be all right. Also, we can sit up on your back porch, man. I ain't gotta go to sleep. To be honest with you, with the late games we'll have. I mean, I can catch a nap on Saturdays.
I love it. Austin, another scrimmage for Tennessee as they get ready for the orange and white game coming up. What is the buzz about where this team is at this point, heading into the spring game? Whose stock is rising, Austin, coming out of the most recent scrimmage in your mind?
Well, you know, I think this time of year it's more so about individuals, you know, than it is the actual like units or teams, because you've got certain players out, certain units that aren't at full speed. So, I mean, like defensively, you know, Josh Josephs continues to play solid football for this team, and that's a good sign. You know, guys like Isaiah Campbell and Tyree West both flashed on Monday during the scrimmage. Offensively, the running backs had a really nice day. But as Coach Heupel talked about, the defense won scrimmage 2, much like the offense won scrimmage 1. And, you know, they've continued to progress, and I think that Monday was a big day for them just because they needed to bounce back after the offense had so much success in the initial spring scrimmage.
Austin, we've heard a lot about Jake Merklinger's improvement over this spring and over this offseason. Where is the area or the one or two ways, Austin, that you feel like he's improved the most? What is the staff like about his maturation process right now?
Well, I think the way he's seeing the field, he's getting the ball out on time right now, and you know, they kind of torn him down and built him back up with like his throwing motion and stuff. And George, I think, is going through some of that, right? You're tweaking, you know, your mechanics just a little bit, and you know, Jake's, you know, really gravitated to the changes and seems to be throwing the ball really, really well.
Man, I won't lie. He looked, what I was able to see, Austin, last Monday, he did look good. I will not front, man. I feel a whole lot comfortable if Nico got to come out for a pinky or something like that, man. That growth is huge. Do you think that Austin is also will be an attraction piece for Coach Heupel and his staff, man? If you are a high-caliber quarterback, this is the place to come to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the more Nico plays well, you hear stories about Merklinger improving. Obviously, George is just in his infancy of some of the tweaks they're using for him. And then, of course, Faison was at practice over the weekend and got to see Tennessee practice, and he was, you know, able to watch, you know, quarterback meetings and sit through all that. I think the more your quarterbacks can have success, the better it is for Josh Heupel to attract high-end quarterbacks. And, you know, you had Hendon Hooker's in the NFL. Joe Milton's now a Dallas Cowboy after getting traded to the Patriots. But he's, you know, the Dak Prescott backup. And, I mean, you know, that over the last handful of years, that's proven to be almost a guaranteed to the field because Dak's been so injury-prone. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think for the quarterback situation, the more those guys can have success, the more help it gives Coach Heupel when it comes to recruiting really, really good quarterbacks.
Sticking on the offensive side of things, too, man, is the running game, man. Peyton Lewis and just the stable of backs that they have there, and Deshaun Bishop, and even some of the young guys, man. How do you expect the variation with Dylan Sampson being out of that group to kind of evolve a little bit, Austin, with the guys in the backfield?
Well, I don't think there'll be a one running back bell cow like there was a year ago. I think this is more like you saw when Jerry Mack was the running backs coach 2 years ago, when you had Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, and Dylan Sampson. You know, I mean, Jalen Wright was the guy, but they rotated quite a bit. I think you'll see a lot of rotating this year, it'll be more of a stable than it will be just one player. Deshaun Bishop has had a really strong spring, both mentally and physically. Looks the part, has performed well all through spring. Peyton Lewis has continued to come on. Star Thomas gives you some versatility and how they can use him, and then of course the two true freshmen. And so, the more Tennessee can continue to see growth out of some of those running backs, especially the young guys, it gives Darrell Sims an even broader paintbrush to paint with when it comes to just the versatility that he can show with his position.
Austin Price, our good friend of VolQuest, joining us this morning on RK Dub. Speaking of Boo Carter, we talk a lot about Travis Hunter right now because obviously we got the NFL draft, a two-way player. But with Boo Carter trying to get more reps this year offensively, how do you balance that if you're Josh Heupel working your way into being more of a two-way player?
Well, obviously, Kayla, it's on Boo to figure out the mental side of things. And he's now got to know both sides of the ball and what his wide receiver position does, what to look out for, what his, defensive back position does at the nickel spot and what to look out for. And, he did a nice job of understanding his role in year one. His role is morphing in year two. And I think in talking to several different people, I think Boo's buy-in, not that it was bad a year ago, but I think he's been even more intentional and diligent in being in the building and going over things. And Coach Happel talked a little bit about that yesterday, just how much he's really focused in on understanding all that he has to learn, because it's simply not you just know nickel or you just know receiver. You have to know both. And with Tennessee's lack of depth at receiver, Kayla, he's probably needed. Right now Tennessee's got, 6 scholarship receivers on campus. Amari Jefferson's been limited in spring, and they'll only have 7 once Joakim Dodson gets here. So he provides more depth there, kind of becomes that 7.5 or 8th person, to run routes and be a playmaker. And, Tennessee needs him to continue to progress.
Austin Price with us this morning on RK Dub. You could obviously go check out their great work on VolQuest. Austin, when it comes to some of the things just overall next year that this team or this coming season, this team needs to work on, I know Josh Heupel has been vocal in saying we need to cut down on the penalties on both sides of the ball. They've been doing some work in the scrimmages with this in particular.
Yeah, I think that's just a matter of just being disciplined, right? A lot of their stuff pre-snap is just, individually the player's got to be more disciplined, has to be, more on his P's and Q's. And, you can, and that goes, you can work on that, but until you get out there and do it, and do it in a game where it matters, you've almost got to see it to believe it, so to speak, more than anything else. Because I don't think it's not as simply as like, hey, I'm trying to work on the form on my jump shot. You're trying to, hey, let's not jump offside. Let's not, or in a couple of the defensive linemen's instances, let's not line up offside.
Right.
Get that helmet across the line. If you're an offensive lineman, let's not false start, when we're in the middle of a drive that starts us at 1st and 15 or takes us from 2nd and 3 to 2nd and 8. Let's be smarter about some of the penalties we get. A lot of Tennessee's penalties are self-inflicted more so than they are, pass interference down the field on the defense when you're in the middle of a play. There are a lot of pre-snap type things.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, as far as the new additions this year, the early enrollees, man, who are some of the freshmen that have kind of made impacts? I was told by Coach Gardner I could say that Ethan Utley is having a good spring. I wanted to say that up front, but who else is adding to the pot as it pertains to being able to help this fall?
Ethan Utley has had a fantastic spring. He has come in, put his head down, ready to work, always does it with a big smile on his face. You see him walking around campus. He's the same kid he was in recruiting. Seems like he's having a really good time. David Sanders on the offensive side of the ball continues to progress, continues to come on. Tennessee's been thrilled with Travis Smith and Radarius Jackson. A lot of questions were on Jackson's, like, how, physically he looks the part. How would he handle the mental side of spring practice? All freshmen have a little bit of a swimmy head at some point. But, to this point, he's handled himself pretty well. He's made plays to go along with Travis Smith. Because of the injury to Jack Van Doorslayer, they're going to, or not Jack Van Doorslayer, but Miles Kitselman, Jack Van Doorslayer, or Miles or Deshaun Bram are going to have to step up. And to this point, Bram's been a little bit limited due to injury. Van Doorslayer is a full go, so he has to take advantage of some of those opportunities alongside Ethan Davis at tight end with Kitselman out. So, Tennessee's got a handful of freshmen that I think are going to play on this team this year. Even guys like Brendan Ames, have really had solid springs and taking advantage of the fact that two of the other true freshmen, both the Jadens, Perlotti and Harmon, are out. So Ames has stepped up and done a nice job and has drawn praise from coaches.
Austin Price of VolQuest's our guest this morning on RKW. Austin, switching gears to the basketball transfer portal. Jacoby Gillespie made official by Tennessee. Now he turns recruiter for his teammate Rodney Rice, who is also in the transfer portal. What is the latest on Tennessee's pursuit of Rice? What do they like about him, and how much do you think Jacoby could help this one go over the line for Rick Barnes in Tennessee?
I think he certainly helps, and I think that Rice prefers to play with his Maryland roommate. I expect him to be here this weekend for the orange and white game. I expect both of them to be in town. And, I think Tennessee will be working to try to get Rodney Rice in the boat, as just like they're trying to get Nate Ament in the boat as they try to push for the 5-star who is coveted by nearly every blue blood program in the country.
And that was my next question, Austin, with Ament. How does Tennessee stack up to the Dukes of the world in this recruitment? It feels like everyone who is in his final group of schools is still a reasonable option based on how much he's talked and how many, let's face it, high bidders are in this thing. Do you feel like Tennessee stacks up with the highest bidders in this? And where do you kind of handicap them versus Duke and Arkansas and Louisville and some of these other teams that are in the mix for it?
Yeah, I think Tennessee's definitely deep in it. Now, will they land Nate? I don't know. I think time will tell. I think, he's probably at least a week out or more from any kind of decision. He certainly feels like he is very engaged in talks with Tennessee. This isn't just like, Tennessee calls and he reluctantly takes the calls. I think he's very engaged. I think he really likes Rick Barnes, likes Justin Gainey. He has been talking to different players on Tennessee's team just about what it's like to play there. He's been talking to, guys like Jacoby Gillespie, to get a feel for, like why he picked Tennessee and what would it be like to play together. I think Tennessee's very much in this. I think they've got a real shot at Nate Ament. Duke, I think has a real shot at Nate Ament. They've got the Boozer brothers coming in over there. Money-wise, I think it'll all be kind of similar. I'm not sure there's a huge difference between, options 1 or 2 or 3 even. I just think ultimately this comes back down to fit. Where does he see himself? Who does he want to be surrounded by? And go on from there.
Austin, for those who are unfamiliar with how good of a prospect he is, would this be the best recruit in terms of high school talent level in the history of Tennessee basketball in your mind?
I think it certainly would be right up there.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a fantastic player and does so many things well. I mean, he's 6'9", but he can score the basketball really, really well. And, what is he like nationally? He's a top 5 player by all the different services.
Right.
And the kid is uber talented. And so, again, I think Tennessee is in a really good spot. It is not done by any stretch of the imagination. Duke's in a really good spot. I think Louisville's kind of lurking there, and they seem to be throwing a ton of money. But, again, I don't think this is a money decision. Even if they were to go a little above the others, I think he's looking at development, how you're being coached, who you're playing around. And, again, I think there's a certain comfort level with Rick Barnes. So, we'll see if Tennessee can get this one across the finish line. Traditionally, Tennessee has not won these type of battles. And so, is this the year where they do win one because of the relationships that the staff has with Nate, I guess we'll see. But again, I think you're still looking at least a week away, or if not more, from him doing anything.
Austin, if you ever run into Jalen Carey, let him know I got a nice Rottweiler breeder I can get him on, because he referred to himself as a Rottweiler. Zeus is an amazing dog, is what I would tell you, my own Rottweiler. But with that being said, have you ever seen a prospect be this, I guess, dedicated to the cause when he switched schools like that? And what could it mean for the Vols basketball program, too?
Yeah. I mean, but he kind of plays that way, right? I mean,
He does.
His personality is fitting how his game is. And so, yeah, I mean, once you make the decision to leave Vanderbilt, I mean, if somebody left Tennessee and went to Alabama, you expect them to be all in on Alabama, right? I mean, like, that's like, why change if you're going to still be partial to the other school? So once he made the move, I mean, it's not going to sit well with the Vanderbilt people. I mean, we all understand that. And it wouldn't sit well with Tennessee people if the roles were reversed. So, it makes the rivalry more fun. He's what Tennessee needed, someone that you can dump it down into the post. He can go get his own bucket. And he has got a certain bull in a china shop mentality that Tennessee needed in the post. So it's kind of Euro-like that, I mean, the guy's going to be an enforcer. And I think Tennessee needed a little bit more bully in the post.
Sounds like he might be going to the Ron Slay School of Boom Boom Rooming is what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like, also. I like it. I thought when he played against the Vols.
Slay's no bully, though. Slay's no bully. Slay's a big teddy bear.
Hey, man.
He's a bully when he needs to be.
When he
right?
needs to be.
Absolutely.
He was on television yesterday holding baby alligators, just so you know, too. Figured I'd let you know in on that one.
He's only a bully to you, everybody.
See, that's that little brother stuff right there, Austin.
Austin Price of VolQuest
Still fighting
joining
it.
us Tuesdays at 8:20 here in the show, bringing us a ton of info. We appreciate you as always, Austin. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, all.
Thanks, Austin.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Austin Price of VolQuest joining us here
no
this morning. 100% right. And I think there's a lot of talk about Jalen Carey, the mental fit, right? Like adding a little bit of edge that maybe Tennessee down low hasn't had the past couple of seasons. I do think schematically he's also a great fit. And Austin brings up a good point that Jalen Carey is a back-to-the-basket big man that you can dump it down and say, get out the way.
Oh.
And Tennessee, for all of their strengths this season, never had that. Never had that.
No, I thought even with what's his name that ended up going to Arizona? Golly, his name's
Tobe Awaka.
Tobe Awaka.
Yeah.
Tobe had it accidentally. Tobe, I don't think was
He didn't have the
intentional.
touch, but he had the physicality aspect of it.
And then he get too many fouls,
Exactly.
and the production didn't match it at times. Tobe had it in him, but it wasn't intentional.
Yep, no doubt. Coming up, the Titans are hosting a veteran player for a visit, an old friend back in town. That's next.